Thank you very much for inviting me to be here today. I've really enjoyed this morning's presentations because I called this part of my CPD. I am the Deputy Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Building. I sort of masquerade as that because essentially I'm an educationalist. I've spent 27 years of my life working in further education, teaching maths to a range of people, including engineers and constructors over the years, and finally ending up running a fairly large further education college in South London. So when I speak about education and whether it matters, to me education matters in all walks of life, and in particular it does matter very much in construction. What gets me out of bed every morning is developing people, because I believe that learning changes people's lives. And we have an industry which I think demonstrates more than most other industries the merits of social mobility. How many industries can you start off, you know, on the tools and end up on the board or even owning or being the chairman of a very large organisation earning quite a lot of money? Construction is one of those few places where you can. I won't bang on too much about the CIOB because I've taken the liberty of taking some copies of our recent annual report with me for you to have a look at. But basically, we're a professional body. Our discipline is construction management. We're the home of construction management. We're a very broad church in terms of membership. We've 47,000 members scattered around the world. Majority are here in the UK. But our claim to fame is about construction management, but you can actually be at the front end in terms of demolition or design, right the way through the build life cycle, with all those jobs that we talked about earlier, right through to the end of facilities management, and still find a home at the CIOB. I'm particularly keen on the idea of apprenticeships, and particularly degree apprenticeships, because of my own background, but because I believe that we're at a critical point in terms of the skills challenges we heard about this morning. We heard from various speakers about the issues about shortage of construction managers, shortage of people with good site management skills and expertise, and so that's really why I'm particularly keen on these new qualifications. I've got a lovely assistant who's doing my clicking for me. Thank you so much. So, the trailblazers, you know, we went from a lot of frameworks for apprenticeships, which quite frankly, a lot of those frameworks we had in the past weren't really doing what they ought to have done. They weren't really delivering what the industry needed. And we've gone over to standards, and I think that standards is very important because industry can actually say, what is it we really want? And how do we make sure that you get that? We're funding reform is going on as well. You know, there's going to be a digital apprenticeship service. So we're entering brand new waters. And paying for apprenticeships is all going to change because there's going to be a new levy from 2017. See, Stephen's gone now, but perhaps the question I would have asked him is, how confident is he that this industry will pay 2 levies? Next. So moving on then to higher and degree apprenticeships, and a little bit of talk about, because I mean we mentioned these words, and I'm, you know, forgive me if I'm preaching, you know, to the converted, but it's about, you know, understanding that a higher apprenticeship will go from a level 4 to a level 7 and be, you know, an equivalent to from foundation degree or above to professional qualification. So they are actually quite significant pieces of learning for young people. A degree apprenticeship will be at level 6 and 7 and must include a bachelor's degree at level 6 and a master's degree at level 7. So we're talking about the sort of the entry standard for our industry going up a notch, and I think that obviously with everything we've heard this morning is no bad thing. There are currently 75 higher and degree apprenticeships available and more in development, but that is across all sectors, not just construction and the built environment. And they're more specialised and highly skilled, and that's what's being offered. And we think it's a real push forward in terms of professional and technical education. Parents, what do they think of it? I think it's always important to look at the people angle when we look at anything that's new. Now, my professional body that I'm a member of, I'm a fellow of, have been for some years, is the Chartered Management Institute, and they've done some research with parents and said to parents, how do you feel about your son or daughter doing a degree apprenticeship? And as you can see, very, very positive. 61% would rather their child took a degree apprenticeship with a major company than an Oxbridge degree. 70% say a degree apprenticeship is better value for money. And we have 62% said even if money were no option, they would still prefer their youngster to actually take on a degree apprenticeship. So this idea of earning and learning appeals very, very much to mum and dad. And those of you who have children in higher education at the moment know the reason why. Now, like all good teachers, I know that you get bored with the same medium, so I'm going to sit down for a while and actually let a young person do my talking for me. This is young Ben, and he'll tell you a little bit about how he got involved with CIOB at school and how that led him to make decisions, which is very much a pre-runner to what we're talking about today.
My name is Ben Webb and I'm a Langerock cadet. In 2013 I won the first prize from the CIOB for the work I'd done in my 14 to 19 diploma. The CIOB then helped me gain a place on the Langerock cadet programme. I earn while I learn, which is a massive bonus. I completed a construction qualification at GCSE level because I was always interested in construction, even from when I was a child. My family is also in the construction business and my aim was to get into the business itself, and I thought this was the best way of doing it. The construction qualification is completely different to a GCSE because there's a lot more hands-on activity. You also meet new people and there is a completely different style of teaching because the lecturers are often tradesmen themselves. In my current role, this qualification helped me by giving me excellent people skills, basic drawing skills so that I could read them and also make a sketch to explain what I was trying to someone else, and also gave me a good insight into the construction industry as a whole. With this programme I now work on projects such as the one in the background, which is the Blavatnik School of Government. The general sense of achievement when people ask me what I'm doing at the age of 19, I can say I'm an engineer. I wanted the challenge and I wanted also to have the practical experience that I gain every day at work. My studies at London South Bank University are 1 day a week on a Monday currently. This involves a long day, but it is enjoyable. I have lectures and tutorials, and then during the week and the weekend I have to do a little bit of background reading as any other student would do. Also, being at the university, on my course there is a wide range of companies sending individuals like myself onto the course. They also have a wide age range as well, which gives you different insights into how and what other companies are doing, and also you learn tips and tricks from other engineers that are on site, which really help you in your day-to-day work. This site engineering role involves many different things, from problem solving to setting out the dimensions of the building. On this project, on level 3, a halfan channel which holds the cladding onto the side of the building had to go into a certain position, but rebar was in the way. This involved me and 2 other engineers spending about 6 to 8 hours making sure that it went in the right place so that no remedial work had to be carried out.
Ben's been with us here on the project for a few months now, in a mixed team from graduates through to experienced engineers. He's done very well, he's responded very well to it. I can see he's got the drive and can see he's willing to learn and to take on responsibilities. He's doing very well in that. I've got every confidence of how he's going to develop.
To be successful as a site engineer, you need to have good communication skills, you need to have patience, you need to be able to understand drawings. All of these skills, however, can be developed while you're on site, and with the cadet programme they don't expect you to know anything when you come, so everything can be learned from scratch. Every week is completely different. It can be varied from a simple week in an aspect of just setting out to an absolutely hectic week of problem solving all week. Most of the time it's a mix between the two, and that's what I love about the job, because I never know exactly what I'm going to be doing next, and it's challenging, but also when I look around the building it's very rewarding.
We are very much a direct employer and having a broad spectrum of people, so it's about energy, it's about having drive, that openness to learn, commitment, and being able to form a career path of whichever route anybody wishes to take, and it's an absolute mutual benefit in doing so.
That it is completely different to full-time university. It's very hard, but it is awesome to say that you were part of extremely large-scale projects such as the one behind me.
Well, thank Thank you. I think that sort of encapsulates what CIB believe in. We actually spend a lot of time out in schools trying to enthuse 11 to 14-year-olds to actually not give up their maths and their sciences for GCSE so that they can make the right choices regarding, moving on and coming into this industry. There is a war for talent out there. There's so many other sort of more sexy industries that they want to go into. And so you have to actually be able to present to them what's good about working in this industry. And the main things that are good about working in this industry has been demonstrated this morning. You actually can earn very good money. And I'm not ashamed to go in there and plug the money thing because it's what motivates young people. You actually can get really good skills that are transferable skills that can take you in your career around the world. You leave a physical legacy behind you that gives you a sense of pride. And if you're interested in the environment, you can actually help in terms of the choices that you make and the decisions you make about materials or waste disposal to actually have an impact on the environment around you. So those are very strong drivers and attract young people generally. But what's been happening of late is that it's becoming much more prohibitive for lots of young people to go to university. And in the Queen's speech last week, they've lifted the cap on the 9,000, so it could even become more expensive going forward. This is a little map of Europe, just to let you know that the darker the colour, the more expensive it is to go to university. And as you see, you guessed it, England is the most expensive place in Europe to go to university. And so there have been, I think, some unintended consequences around this in terms of the economy and young people's indebtedness when they start their work and their inability to buy houses, and that sort of spins across the economy. Germany, at that point, when I got this slide, were charging £1,000, but they've actually realised that it's not cost effective in terms of the broader economic reasons, so they've now made it free. So we have an inequitous situation that young people in the UK have to pay a lot of money to get a higher education qualification. So earning and learning, which is really the important part of higher and degree apprenticeships, is really, really important. And at the CIOB, we keep a close eye on what the industry is doing. And we saw the shift 2 or 3 years ago with the introduction of tuition fees of recruitment dropping from 21, your graduate age, to 18. And companies looking for bright 18-year-olds are phoning us up and saying, do you know bright 18-year-olds who'd like to come into this? So you can train them. So they avoid the HE tuition fee debt. The industry, like Lang O'Rourke's, as you saw there, and you're all probably doing very similar things, are moulding that youngster in the ways of that business, getting them in, really becoming a Lang O'Rourke person. And then that young person not only gets the soft skill development that Ben was talking about, the experience, the confidence that comes with being on site and being responsible, but they get a degree or a higher level qualification if they're on a higher apprenticeship. And they also get a professional qualification. So by the age of 23, 24, they can have a degree, employability skills, great experience, and they're a chartered professional. So it's a win-win. It's a win for the young person, it's a win for their parents, and it is a win for the industry. So we really need to be promoting that very much. And there's 3 partners, thank you very much, in this really. There's higher education, there's employers, and there's the professional bodies like ourselves that are underpinning and supporting this whole process. And higher education needs to raise greater awareness of the fact that there is such a thing as a degree apprenticeship. Now, those parents who said, yes, please, we'll have that, also said when asked that they didn't know enough about it, that they very rarely hear about it. So there's a whole marketing issue about promoting degree apprenticeships out there so that parents and young people are aware. They also need to liaise with the employers to ensure that they maximise the benefit of that work-based learning. Universities traditionally haven't done work-based learning. They don't really like further education where we're so used to it, going out and, assessing competence. They're a bit nervous about it. And what industry needs to do with them is actually to ensure that they're up to date with current industry practice. Because if you actually look at the demographic inside the universities these days as well, you'll find that there's an ageing population there too. And if they were in the industry at some stage, they're probably a little bit outdated. So there needs to be a partnership here whereby you actually bring them out and show them what's actually happening on site, because that way you're going to get the best possible outcomes for the learning for those young people. The role of employers, well, the CIOB is working with Tony Allender, who's going to be speaking to you very shortly, in Balfour Beatty, and a industry-wide consortia. We've been working probably for about 3 years now on designing the higher and degree apprenticeships. And Tony will tell you all about the trials and tribulations of that. But what we're very proud of is that we managed to include in that not just our own professional body, but about 5 other professional bodies in terms of incorporating our assessment for professional status within the apprenticeships. That's very important because it gives that extra to a degree. It's not just a degree, it's a degree and professional status. And I think that's very attractive to young people. But employers need to commit to the new apprenticeship places. Somebody talked about supply and demand. The demand, as we know, for tier 1 schemes is often way in excess of the amount of places that they can give. So there's a lot of opportunity for employers to actually get involved and bring on that next generation by committing to taking on some apprentices. Support the government levy. It's going to happen whether, we like it or not, and it needs to be implemented in a way that makes sense. What happens with CITB funding? As again, that's going to be, a $6 million question. The other thing I would plead is that you pay and reward young people appropriately, because that is a measure of how much you value them. And if you want to retain them in your business post-training, they need to feel as if they're part of your team from day one. And paying them the minimum, and not recognising that they need perhaps to have reviews to show their worth to your business over time is a very short-term false economy. That's my advice. If you treat young people as members of your team, and you treat them appropriately in terms of reward, they will stay with you and be your best advocates. And the other thing we talked about was, that uncle's arm around the shoulder. It's so important, isn't it? That we give pastoral support. These young people are on a transition from work to school. Think back how difficult that was. I remember it was awful. But you need people that's going to help you along the way. And there are those people out there in your companies that do that and do that brilliantly and enjoy that as part of their job. And there are other people who feel a bit more nervous about it. But it is a very important part of enabling young people to come in and stay. Retention is a big problem. Speaking in the words of the industry, what's the point in filling the hopper if the pipe's always leaking? You actually need to stop the pipe leaking. And that means making people feel secure and cared for and part of your company. So, in terms of the next slide, please, the CIOB, what are we doing? Well, we haven't been at all surprised that there's a huge need to bring in lots and lots more people and to professionalise this industry. So we had sat down last year for our new strategy and decided that whilst in the past we have very much focused on creating standards and measuring people whether or not they achieve them in terms of coming into membership, we actually now believe that what we need to do is create our own academy. And sort of inspired by the academy here at BRE and other academies in the industry, we want to actually be involved in enabling people to learn. So it's going to be providing education and training for everybody, not just our members, but for everybody in the industry and for whatever level you're at. So it's from site to boardroom, because it's very important that the industry has somewhere to come to where it can get the training that it wants. Often I see firms setting up their own academies because they're not getting what they want elsewhere. And we're here to listen to what industry wants, come and talk to you, and actually provide stuff that we think is valuable. So we're kicking off later on this year. Some of the first programs that we're going to offer is going to be about strategic business leadership. I'm also very, very conscious of the fact that the industry keeps shouting about how few people there are to recruit, and it's ignoring a significant proportion of the potential labour force. Women, people from ethnic backgrounds. Where are they in our industry? 89% of this industry is male and pale. You're missing out on a lot of talent. Hell of a lot of talent out there. So I'm going to be offering some programs that actually develop an interest in people who are already in our industry to become leaders and to get places on the board. So preparation for boards for those that are traditionally underrepresented in that area, to see if we can get a better balance. Because if you get better balanced on boards, you get better business and better outcomes, and that's been proved. So there's a focus on diversity. The other thing we will be doing is graduate conversion courses, because many of you aren't getting enough construction management graduates out, because they've gone down 40% since tuition fees. There aren't as many of them available. So you're taking on general graduates, what we'd call non-cognates. So what we'll be doing in one of our first courses is talking to you about what mode you'd like it in, but we'll be giving you a graduate conversion course in central London. That's important so that you can get these people ready to be effective in your business within 9 or 10 months of them starting. And that will be based on our own site management level 4 qualification. And hopefully that will be of value to you. So we're putting together lots and lots of other ideas for academies at the moment. What we're going to offer is early stages. We haven't launched yet because we're very busy putting together our programme, and we'll be consulting you. So if any of you have a burning desire to say, CIB should be doing this, please call me, because I would be delighted to hear from you. And finally, you've probably already seen it out there in the marketplace. We actually have a training brochure which is already available, and we're doing that in partnership with our strategic partners across the industry, where we know that the training that they offer is first class and we want to be associated with it, including BRE's BREEAM courses are in there, and a wide range of other courses from taxation to report writing to BIM, so you'd find something of interest in there as well for yourselves and your staff. So that's the sales pitch over. But just to say thank you very much for inviting me. I think that this is a really important time in construction education. We have a huge opportunity to grasp something and do it really, really well. And I would ask everybody in the room to support Stephen in his endeavours to get it right here in Hertfordshire. Thank you.